The next talk has two speakers, Sofia Etingof, freelancer with a bachelor's degree in sociology, and Juri Solovjov, certified software quality engineer at Red Hat. They will talk about web accessibility and how it is actually well forgotten old. Welcome on stage.
Thank you. Hello.
So, web accessibility. Many people think they don't know much about.
Sorry. So, hello everyone. My name is Juri Solovjov, and as was mentioned, working as software quality engineer at Red Hat.
And my name is Sofia Etingof, and I'm freelancer and very big fan of diversity and inclusion theme.
And today we're going to discuss what accessibility is in real world, how it looks like, then testing types, how it's tested, and how it's connected with artificial intelligence, and some just summary.
So, web accessibility in real world. Many people think they don't know much about digital accessibility, but that's not true. We all use at least one accessibility feature, like choosing a dark theme while coding. However, we often forget about people with visual impairments. For example, can they independently book a flight to Vienna during Christmas market? However, we often forget about people with visual impairments. For example, can they independently book a flight to Vienna during Christmas market? We don't know. Web accessibility is a hidden luxury that many overlook, but it significantly improves the quality of life for people with disabilities. Unfortunately, web accessibility should not be a luxury, it should be a standard. Together, we can change it. Let's try.
So, and we believe it's better to arrive late than not arrive at all. So, and again, what do people generally know about web accessibility? There are three most common sentences, what you can see on the slide. So, some people think it's only meant for people with permanent physical disabilities, but in reality, as Sofia already mentioned, every one of us uses at least one accessibility features. For instance, me, as already mentioned, I'm using a dark theme in my code editor, or for instance, I use increased text contrast while reading documentation for any software. Second sentence is about that only corporations should worry about it, but in reality, that all businesses, small and big businesses, should evaluate their digital accessibility and provide equal access to all users and avoid potential legal issues. For instance, many countries, like in the European Union, they have state standards which should be followed, and it's really strict. And last one is, for instance, like users with disabilities don't use my website, but how should you know it? Most of assistive technologies are not detectable in any way, so you never know who uses your website or web application and how, so you should provide equal access to everyone. And here some statistics. We chose specifically the Netherlands country because we did some investigation, found out that Netherlands has many projects related to web accessibility and developing in this area really nice.
For example, 45% Dutch iOS users use at least one accessibility feature, or 24% Android users in Netherlands use dark theme on their phone.
And here on this slide you can see global statistics, and from the report you can see that almost 96 websites in the world identified work compliance issues, and most common is low contrast text, or for instance 60% of all images on websites don't have alternative text at all. So can you imagine how people with disabilities struggling to identify the content when images don't have it? And let's talk about testing types.
Accessibility testing without WAC that like cappuccino after 12. Web content accessibility guidelines, international standards that ensure digital content is accessible to people with disabilities, promoting inclusivity and complements.
So, the World Wide Web Consortium has the following list of requirements of accessibility testing. First one, as you can see, it's perceivable. So, as an example, alt text should be presented in images. Second one is separable. For instance, you have to support a keyboard navigation for your application. Third one is understandable. So, it means that the user interface content must be readable using meaningful statement instead of color-coded instructions. As an example, you have to provide straightforward text instead of putting some text in the image, then text screeners can't even detect and help people to understand what's there. And the last one is robust. So all hardware should be supported regardless, is it desktop, mobile phone, or tablet. And here are types of accessibility testing. First one is automated testing. It's quite reliable because it's equipped. It could be custom created, or you can use any tool, for instance, from Google Lighthouse. But the thing is, it's missing one feature that it can't test user experience. Second thing is manual testing. It's done by regular people, so you can uncover any usability issues, but the thing is, it's less reliable as people doing the same thing, so they can just overlook something. Third one is user testing. So you basically invite people with actual disabilities to provide their feedback and user experience. And last one is assistive technology testing. So basically, you ensure compatibility with tools like screen readers, voice recognition, software, and make sure that everything is supported. And of course, each type has own pros and cons, so you have to balance and decide what you can afford.
So AI and web accessibility. How AI simplifies life. AI can simplify life with features like automatic speech recognition, adaptive interface, and screen reading tools. Here are some examples: basic built-in accessibility feature, text-to-speech technologies, voice assistant, and many companies are developing additional applications to make using the phone easier. For example, a basic built-in accessibility feature, Easy Access Mode in iOS, allows elders to use phone without grandson or granddaughter.
Another example is text-to-speech technologies. So many platforms, including Amazon Polly and Google Text-to-Speech, they convert text into speech, helping individuals with dyslexia and reading difficulties.
Voice assistant. Yandex has trained its Alice voice assistant to recognize speech from people who have had a stroke. Or voice assistant Alexa is often installed to help people with disabilities do household chores. For example, open the door, turn off the light.
And another example, there is a Wisp app which helps actually convert speech or whispers into the user's natural voice. And here you can scan the QR code and see an example how it works, and you can listen to this speech. Okay. And of course, artificial intelligence is not the perfect approach, as it has own limitations. It can't fully replace manual testing, human expertise in digital accessibility, as well as in development. And this insight comes from a tester with visual impairment, who we talked to before in his insight. And instead of summary, we wanted to share with you some simple commandments for web accessibility. So first one is disability cannot be hidden. If we ignore it, we won't create universally accessible application. So second one is never rely on just one opinion. Invite experts with disabilities to share their insights and their feedback.
There will always be people who simply aren't interested. Don't waste your time trying to convince them. And be prepared for the fact that implementing digital accessibility can be costly.
And thank you for your attention.
And we wish for all your projects to shine as bright as highest WAC AAA standard.
Thank you very much, Sofia and Juri. Is there any question related to accessibility from the public? Yes, one question.
You talked a lot about AI and how it helps users perceive apps better or interact with their phones or like generally interact easier if they have impairments. Are there also tools that help developer improve their UIs and their final products? So like UI test tools based on AI that just tell a developer how to improve the UI to be more accessible?
Yes, there are some tools, as I mentioned, Google Lighthouse, which actually helps you to scan your application, your website, and then it suggests what kind of improvements you have to bring to your application. Or what was the question?
Yes, but I mean like more along
With the microphone, please.
I mean more along the AI basis, because like you talked about the AI being used for end users, but is there also an application for developers? Because for example, Lighthouse, I don't think it has any AI components in it. It just analyzes the web page based on some basic rules and tells you what meets the requirements and what doesn't. But like actually suggestions on how to improve it. Like are there tools that do that?
There are many other open source and paid tools, of course, but from our experience, what we found out is better to invite real customers because, yeah, there is a set of rules and standards which should be followed, of course, but unfortunately, there are different people and yeah, you need somehow balance because, yeah, by standards, you can pass all the standards and you can get AAA, but if you invite a group of persons with different disabilities, so unfortunately, you would fail some checks. Yeah, that's true. So it's not ideal, and you need to consider how to balance. Because I can give an example from one of our team. We developed one web application, so it was requirements from like state, and we've actually passed it, all the checks. But when we got real feedback from real customer, so it wasn't good.
Another question?
Thank you. My name is Flaminia. I love your speech. I was wondering, for you, what's the best way to convince a customer that accessibility is important? Because for me, it's a challenge.
Yeah, our goal was to show, first of all, that this topic is really important because most people, like if you have e-shop or whatever, so you never know who your customers. Sometimes you think like, yeah, just regular users, but even people with disabilities need to access services, to buy something or whatever. So, and you need to help them like to get your service, let's say. And of course, encourage developers to think about it as well, because as I said, some our developers, yeah, we did the checks, so it's fine, but they never ever try to deep dive and get real feedback from people because they cared about some bureaucratic things, bureaucracy, and not real world.
Hi, thank you for the talk. I really liked it, and I really like talking about the web accessibility. But most people really don't. So my question is there like some sort of a basic feature checklist, let's say, for lack of better words, that I can think of as a developer when I'm planning some application, like as a start, because it's really hard to think about needs of disabled people when I am not disabled in certain ways. So,
yeah. Thank you for the question. Yes, actually, you can, first of all, the first source, you can check WCAG. It's Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. It has the big source of what checks, what standards you should follow, and it's really well explained. So, and also, for instance, Google has a really nice accessibility page, again with all the rules, standards, not coming from Google, but international standards. And the
You can finish,
okay, so basically, yeah, first source I would suggest to check Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. It's an international organization, non-profit, which tries to create guidelines for all developers, how you should create your web application and other things. I would start with this one. You're welcome.